I always wanted to make a film which is kind of visual effects heavy or could use visual effects.
My name is Harry Ingorani and I am the creative director at Red Chillies VFX.
I'm Ketan Yadav. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Red Chillies VFX.
One movie which brought the revolution in India, Ra.One.
Ra.One was the first VFX heavy film which got the kind of recognition.
We had everything in that. You talk about miniatures, you talk special effects, everything we had in that movie.
So initially we started with G1 and we replaced his entire suit. So then we had to go and replace the suit of the villain also in the entire film. Harry started his career in '94. I started my career in '96. And that time VFX was predominantly used in advertising a lot. Pack shots, commercials, chromas and stuff like that. From '94 till at least 2006, we were basically doing commercials for the biggest advertisement agencies in India.
What happened during I think 2001, 2002, we did work on one of the ad with Prahlad Kakkar. They had shot time slice sequence with Sachin Tendulkar in Australia. So like time slice is where you kind of put DSLR cameras 180 degrees and then click the main actor once. So what happened during that time, they had 60 cameras, 120 cameras and 60 cameras misfired completely. Prahlad asked just basically, can we kind of recreate this and kind of make it smooth. It took us good 2 to 3 weeks to kind of correct those. We created, in between frames we created. That's what I think SRK saw, because he had couple of sequences in the film, Main, So he approached us. I mean, he told us to meet and also we went and met him. My first meeting was, I couldn't see anything. I was just looking at him because like first time seeing one actor, big actor, because all the time we had only worked in ads. So this is the first time my interaction was with the actor. So whatever he was saying, everything went from my top. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't understand anything what he's saying and all that.
On the sets of Paheli, SRK proposed the idea of making a world-class visual effects studio. Do the kind of films he had envisioned, okay? Yeah. He was very keen in 2002 to do a superhero film or a sci-fi film. But he thought that the present studios in the country are not capable of fulfill his vision. So he wanted to make a studio which would, help him achieve his vision of making a international quality film.
So that's how the whole idea started. So then they had a meeting, everything worked out, and we formed Red Chillies VFX in 2006. One movie which brought the revolution in India, I think Bollywood-wise, Ra.One.
SRK's brief was, guys, don't let me down, complete it on time.
Because nobody had done, that kind of thing. So it all started from there. We were supposed to execute and make it, look photoreal and believable. That was our main challenge.
And it was something where the director was again his first big film, Anubhav Sinha's first major VFX film. Again, us and SRK were just fulfilling a vision which he had envisioned in 2003.
And we never had restrictions, in terms of money and all that, that we never had restrictions till now. So if you want to do something, do good, it's okay if you're spending some more money and all that, that's his main thing, But let's do it something good, which people can learn from and take something home.
Ra.One was the first VFX heavy film which got the kind of recognition. Okay. Yes, there was a superhero by Koi Mil Gaya, Hrithik Roshan, Jadoo and all was done. Okay. But it was more of an Indian adaptation of story with not that heavy use of visual effects. With Ra.One, we went all in. In fact, we kind of jumped into something, and it was a benchmarking film So actually, VFX, what it stands today, is because of Ra.One, because that laid the benchmark, that laid the foundation stone. We cleaned him up and kind of made him poreless. He didn't have any pores on his body, face especially. The biggest thing, which kind of initially was a bomb thrown at us. So the suits which were made in US, which they were supposed to wear, and we were only supposed to clean them up and make them look good like Batman, Superman suits. Okay.
Like increasing shine.
It started disintegrating in the Bombay weather. He varies one time, started tearing. It started looking like, he's come from a very dirty, place where it is really rugged and all. So we entirely replaced all the suits. So initially we started with G1 and we replaced his entire suit. But then we realized that when we started, if the villain and the hero are on the same frame, so the hero is looking amazingly sparkly and shiny suit, whereas the villain is looking in a very poor suit. So then we had to go and replace the suit of the villain also in the entire film. So which was something which was unplanned. But
I remember SRK saying, she's saying, have you seen Batman and all that, At that time it had come and all that. That was before 2010, 11. So I said, see, he said, you see their suits? How they look and nice, every child and all that kind of, wants to have that kind of suit and all that. So it should look like that. Because if we release our movie in this suit, nobody is going to come and watch. Yeah. So that gave us shock because we never planned it. And the movie was supposed to release in January, Diwali time, October.
Yeah.
And this he told us, I think January. When we were at the peak, started working fully and all that. And I said, how do we do it? Replacing the suit. Then we went through some R&D. There was a movie called Green Lantern and all that. They had replaced the whole body suit. So most of the Hollywood studios, they do it that way only because they knew the problem, what happens if you wear the real suit and all that. So then we started thinking, okay, let's do kind of couple of shots at our studio. Let's start understanding the process, what it goes. We did couple of shots. We kind of made the suit better, the whole electric gadgets and all that, how electricity travels from each cube to the heart. So that we planned it nicely. We had a guy who had done artificial intelligence, who had done PhD in artificial intelligence. So he started telling us, what kind of material is going to be. I was asking him, we need to have a material which can bend. So then he came up with the idea of OLED material, which has now come. After so many years and all. So we knew at that time. So whatever we made, we saw to that you should have that, The technology you're showing, lights and all that, you need to have that kind of material. Otherwise, how is possible? So the ideas we use from there. And the reconsider, we showed it to him and everybody loved. I think there were around 1,000 shots. So basically the process was such, we could take up only 200 shots with that team and then we started outsourcing it. We had made the assets, we had made the animation, what is required in muscle movement, they're kind of, because you have to exactly match it what you have shot. On top of that, like tracing 3D object. Then once that was done, so we had a whole automated setup and all that. Whatever new versions we are doing, it used to be kind of open up as a new version and we started compositing. My favorite shot in Ra.One, there are many, but I think the train sequence really worked well. I think, some shots of, in top of the train and all that. Then the whole chase sequence was very good, which was shot in London, which we shot completely on chroma because then taking the place and putting it together at that time. We had everything in that, we talk about miniatures, we talk special effects, everything we had in that movie. So for the miniature part, when we spoke to the director, so they had, storyboards basically, exactly, how he wants to see the train and all that. What happens when he's inside the train, then he controls, Karina controls the driver and all that, how train kind of gets uncontrolled and comes out of the station from outside and all that. We said, okay, I mean, this kind of, braking and all that, it will be very difficult to kind of do it in VFX. Especially, at that time, the machines were not that fast, which could handle that heavy simulation and all that. So Ketan came up with the idea, why not try miniatures? Because at that time, there was a lot of boom of miniature. But the miniatures, how do we do it in India? That was a problem. So then he met with some people in London back there who had kind of worked on big films there and all that. So we asked them exactly, what process needs to follow to kind of have the miniature and all that. Then they spoke to him, then we had meetings. They said it's going to take 4 weeks just to dry the miniature of VT. And before that, they start making the miniature for, I think, couple of months.
Yeah.
By the time we get the miniature in our hand, it'll be like, we're talking about 5 months from start to end. So we had to plan. And the miniature, we shot it in London only, where they were making it and all that.
3, 2, 1.
Now, what kind of miniature we need to make? What kind of scale and all that? So they came up with the idea, if you have the close-up shots, we should make a bigger miniature. Can be less.
Yeah.
So like 1/6. So one was 1/6 scale, and the other was, I think, around 1/10 scale,
1/10
where you could see the full VT, which breaks and all that. So there were 2 miniature for 2 different shots.
Nino helped us a lot in
Yeah.
terms of calculation.
Correct.
Because
So while shooting the main principal photography, we calculated everything, and our DOP, assistant DOP, was Nino. So because he was an architect, so he kind of everything jotted out. Ki when we shoot anything in miniature, how 3 cameras shooting real life, when you shoot miniature, everything will come closer or overlap each other. That's what happened, because you're kind of shooting smaller size. So we calculated everything. We had a chroma. We had for the gate, we had kind of put the planks on the chroma. So that's the gate of VT. So we know exactly, where we need to put the 3D gate and all that.
there are formulas, the frame rate changes
Yeah.
of the camera.
Correct.
The distance of moving the camera changes, okay, because you're shooting at one. So if in a real life a camera would have traveled to like 10 feet, if the scale is 1/10, it only
Yeah.
has to travel 1 feet.
Correct.
Okay, so all these
Yeah.
calculations and formulas are the foundation to make it look real. If you go wrong in any of these formulas or your frame rates or anything, your shot will look fake.
And the mass value of every, breaking break and all that. Now, obviously, it's miniature. Like if you see gravity is like 9.8 meters per second. So miniature, it will fall within a second, less than a second. So it won't look real. It will look very fast. So how they capture it? Basically, they go high speed. Like iPhone does it nowadays. So they go high speed. They calculate it and they kind of shoot it at 180 frames per second, depending on the scale and all that. So that formula gave us exactly, how much needs to be done. So certain cameras were overlapping. So what we used to do, we used to kind of shoot the miniature twice. First roll for this camera, then for other camera.
You don't deserve to live.
SRK wanted to create a game out of the movie. We'll make this film so good that we'll make a game out of it. And in fact, we did tie up with Sony, and in fact, we did release the game on PS2. Then there was a company called NVIDIA who kind of came on board, and they're the GPU specialist company. And they came up with different couple of versions of gaming cards of Ra.One and G1. There was a big launch and there was a big gaming contest there, and people were given prizes and the gamers landed up. So we did that exercise as well, where SRK was the one who unveiled the entire G1 edition of display card. There are 2 types of VFX mostly, which is one is the invisible VFX, where the audience should not know whether this has been shot live or it is kind of done in VFX, okay? And the other is obvious, the showcase one, where you actually show the world that what you can do. In both the cases, the invisible VFX, if the audience can make out that it is actually done in VFX, that becomes a bad VFX. It should be invisible to the naked eye. People should not know, they should just debate whether, how it was done. And of course, the visible VFX, if it's breathtaking, if it's amazing, it's done properly, and it goes well with the scene. Something new, something exciting. That's also comes in the same category as a bad or a good VFX.
बहुत अच्छा मूवी था. It's good for kids.
Ra.One is for kids.
ऑर्गन एकदम मस्त है. Ra.One. Seriously, Jeevan rocks. Good.
Ra.One at that time also had a lukewarm response because it was considered like ahead of its time. It kind of fell in the genre of like a kids film because it was game oriented. Okay.
But nobody pointed out the fingers at VFX. Everybody said, VFX and all that, everything is good and all that, no issues.
Sometimes we have no idea why a film is doing amazingly well or why a particular film which looks good in every angle doesn't do well, and there are many examples of that. The production could be amazing, a star cast could be amazing, a songs could be amazing, lighting, cinematography, VFX, everything amazing, but the film may not touch the audience, the chord. And sometimes ordinary films give you amazing results.
जब मेरा करियर खत्म हो तो मैं कहीं ना कहीं पर ऐसी कोई चीज छोड़ के जाऊं. I want to leave something in this film industry which is beyond films, which takes our films worldwide. मेरे कंट्रोल में टेक्नोलॉजी है. That was one reason I made Ra.One.
Thank you for watching us on IGN India or India's VFX Revolution.
It was lovely being on IGN India. Thank you for watching us.
Please
like and share and subscribe on IGN India.